Great. Okay, thank you all very much. I'm calling to order the Public Outreach Committee of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District for Monday, October 25th. Could we have a roll call, please?
Director Malik.
Here.
Director Anderson.
Here.
Director Adams.
Here. And now we'll take this time to see if there are any members of the public who would like to comment on anything that is not on the agenda for today. Do we have any members who are raising their hand? Any members of the public raising their hands?
No.
I see no one raising their hand either. Okay, so we will go ahead and close that. And let's see here. Oh dear, now I've lost my agenda.
Right. I have to start sharing again, flipping back and forth. Just 1 minute, please.
Oh, I'm making this so much more difficult for you than maybe. And let me see if I can't do something to.
Okay, you should have it now.
I know I do. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. So we just have a couple of items today. The first is an action item, and that is to consider adoption of the July 26, 2021 committee meeting minutes. I hope as you've had an opportunity to review the minutes.
I have, and I so move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I was not present at that time.
All right, well, I'll second them because they look pretty good to me as well. So by consensus, can we assume the meeting minutes are approved? And I don't think I have to have a motion for that. And then we will go and have you had an opportunity to take a look at the committee meeting schedule for January and February?
Yes.
2022. And did they seem agreeable to you, Amy?
Yes, they work for me.
Great. And Southwood, how about for you?
Yes, that's fine.
Great. Okay, so with that, we will accept and approve the committee meeting schedule for January and February.
Now, bear in mind that the committees could change. You'll have a new chair appointed in December, and typically the chair works with the other directors to come up with committee appointments by the January board meeting. So just a heads up.
Thank you for that. Okay, and now we go to discussion items. Oh, I guess I should ask if there was any member of the public that wanted to comment on either the minutes or the committee meeting schedule for January and February. I'm seeing no hands raised, so my assumption is the public sounds pretty good with those. And then we will move into discussion items, and we will be receiving public comment on these as well. And the first one is to discuss the district email list and provide direction. This will be a verbal report, and I think that we all received an email around noon today with some items on it. So I would go to Stephanie then for this item.
Okay, and hang on just a second. I need to find that email because I somehow managed to close my item. So, there it is. Okay, so basically at one of our previous meetings, we kind of had a little discussion about our generating more emails so that we would have an email contact list that we could use for emailing newsletters and other communications to people that are interested. And so following up on that, I sent some questions to TMD, and they are on with us today, regarding whether or not MailChimp, which is the mail program that we're using right now, is really the best one for us, or whether there's something else that would work for us better. Constant Contact is one that a number of different agencies use in addition to the MailChimp. And so I had asked the question about, and this goes to the email you received earlier, what were the advantages, disadvantages, and was there another option? And so, as you can see from the outline that I provided you, that there are a number of advantages to having MailChimp because it is very user-friendly. It's currently what we're using to collect email addresses. And it's affordable. You can grow your mailing list. You can select certain people to send to, so you can tailor it to specific groups, and you can schedule your sendings. The disadvantage is the price that increases by the size of your list, and that the templates that are provided in MailChimp may or may not meet the district's needs, and you may have to create your own templates. The disadvantages, I guess the next question had to do with any other options that were out there. And TMD said that iContact was one that they actually recommend. And so I guess as we get through with my presentation, I would like TMD to address their recommendation and why they would make that recommendation. But let me go ahead and finish through my list here, and then we can hear about that, because I actually don't know anything about that particular platform. And so then question about what was the best method to collect new addresses. And I think this is something I agree with. It's an opt-in method, and you can use that. We do with a QR code on our advertising, so people can sign up to our email list. I think it would be, advantageous once we get back to having in-person meetings to have a sign-up sheet available at every meeting, and people can perhaps select different topics that they might be interested in, whether it's general or fisheries or pure water in Monterey or whatever, that they would be able to select that, and then we could add them to our mailing list. And then there is the ability to import from Excel or Google Sheets or other things. I have a slight concern about that because of the number of people that may not want to get emails from us. And I think we have to be very careful and respectful that, we really should be just focused on people who want to receive emails from us. The next question had to do with what's involved in maintaining a list. And I think if you recall back in our previous discussion, we do have something like 800 email addresses, but going through those 800 email addresses, many of them are outdated. And I think many of them may have been added without consent. So I think that we have a situation where we probably need to send out an email to those people that are in the list and ask them if they want to remain on the list. And then I think we're going to find that there's a very large number of email addresses that are no longer valid email addresses. So then that, of course, brings up the question about duplicate entries, because one person may sign up in one place or another. And so MailChimp MailChimp and Constant Contact are pretty good about identifying duplicates, and that you can go through and self-select and delete if you need to delete them. Number 5, which was to me what the goals really are of this whole email collection situation, is that we want to update our existing mailing list so that we can remove all those email addresses that are no longer valid or no longer interested. We want to grow our email list, and we want to do that using advertising and other methods, and including, like I said, having sign-up sheets available at events and that kind of thing. And then use that email list as a way to send semi-annual or more frequent flyers and newsletters and offers. If we have equipment that we want to offer for conservation or whatever, we could hit it with the email list. And I think that's pretty much my overview of where I think we need to go at this point, but I would like to hear from TMD. And then I guess if you have any comments, we'd like to hear those.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you
Stephanie.
very much, Stephanie. Thank you, board members and chair. So the biggest reason why we recommended eye contact is beyond the cost issue. It has to do with availability and accessibility and also flexibility. So eye contact is a more robust platform. It doesn't mean it's better, it's just more robust, meaning that we can fully customize things on iContact and not be limited to the templates that MailChimp provides for. So as the needs of your organization grow, it gives us greater opportunity to, create meaningful email messaging that can do specific functions and operate in conjunction with your website or other outreach platforms that you currently have. The other advantage is with iContact, at least from our perspective, is we have what's called an agency account. So it's almost like being a partner, like a Google partner or any other partner agreement, where we have access to support, but we also have the ability to share access with the client. So for example, Stephanie and her staff would have full access to everything in iContact that we would have access to under one umbrella, whereas with MailChimp, we would not have access. So the amount of support that we would be able to provide would be a little bit cumbersome, because we would have to actually log in using an account that you guys would establish, your organization would establish, whereas with the iContact system, we would have a separate login, which is good for tracking purposes as well. So that's the primary advantages. I think initially the actual number of contacts is a little bit higher on the threshold than MailChimp. So they kind of go in tiers: 10,000, 15,000, 25,000, and so there's some ranges there that might be more cost effective initially, but right now your list is somewhat small or limited, but it will grow over time for sure. And then, to help you with your outreach efforts, we would also recommend, if you want people to sign up for a newsletter, that we actually create a QR code that would take somebody directly to a page on the website. We could even use a QR code in social media that would take them to an opt-in form, and so that the potential audience member is opting into your communication. They're not getting it under any other pretenses than their own. So that's the basic crux of it. It's the flexibility is the biggest one. All things being equal, MailChimp has very good analytic tools for measuring. Both MailChimp and iContact have the ability to eliminate duplicates, so people aren't getting hit with multiple emails from the same email address. So those kind of features are built in. It's just, I guess if you could say, it's iContact is kind of the more professional version of email platform.
Can we discuss the opt-in versus opt-out philosophically? I'd like to hear the director's opinion, because it'd be very easy to just, every time we have a touch from the public via email, to just add that email to the overall list. And if we're honest brokers in this whole thing, if they want to hit unsubscribe, as opposed to others out there that you hit unsubscribe and it seemingly never goes away, and they exist out there. But if we let people unsubscribe, do we care whether it's opt-in or opt-out?
Dave, are you asking me, or are you asking
the group in general?
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, that's okay. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, Mary. So best practices, Dave, kind of talk about opt-in as a best practice, but it's certainly not a practice that all companies use. A lot of companies don't have an opt-in, and like you said, when they get touched, they capture that email and certainly unsubscribe. I think Stephanie raised a good point. If you want to clean up your list that you have, it's probably a good idea to send out an email saying, we're doing our annual cleanup. And if you don't want to receive emails from us anymore, please click And you could create an opt-out button, make it really super easy, because usually, if you ever get those emails, they're always on the bottom in fine print, it's kind of like the bank, the fine print. Yeah, so that's my opinion. I prefer opt-in as opposed to generic. And I've been personally, from my own experience, just being a member of so many trade associations sell their lists to marketers, and I get, oh my gosh, thousands of emails a month that I just I'm always unsubscribing. I feel like I'm unsubscribing to emails all the time. So I just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it seems that just a little more, not just professional, but more gold standard to have it be the opt-in.
Well, so, I've written a few $99 checks to political campaigns, and I've been added to every one of their constant contact lists. I know, for example, in reviewing some recent filings, it's either Luis or Chris Lopez uses constant contact, and you see their monthly expenses. There it is right there. So I know some people locally use those. Do you use your office, Mary? Do you have a contact manager?
We use Constant Contact, but it's completely separate from my political stuff, totally separate. Yeah. And we do use it, but we have an opt-in approach.
Yeah. So and LandWatch, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you have to send us an email asking to join our email distribution list.
Okay. LandWatch uses MailChimp, and in talking to Michael DeLappa, he's really satisfied with it. So, I guess it might be a little bit of, are we going to manage it in-house, or we're going to share it kind of on the platform at TMD? Probably has a lot to do with what we should consider.
So actually, I was going to ask you, TMD, this question. Do you have are most of your patients, or most of your clients on eye contact, or is it sort of a mixed bag? How does it work?
We have a lot of nonprofit clients on eye contact, and our experience with nonprofits is they're typically understaffed and overworked, and so it gives us that agency top line access. And plus we know how to troubleshoot issues, and we have because we have an agency account, we get to speak to a higher level of customer service person than we would normally if we were going in kind of like as a consumer. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, there are a fair number of clients that use MailChimp. Constant Contact, not so much. A lot of folks find Constant Contact to be very, not as user friendly. MailChimp, I would say, is really good for, entry level, intermediate expertise with regard to email marketing. Eye contact is definitely the professionals version. Just like, YouTube is for video people, but the professionals don't use YouTube for housing and storing video. They use Vimeo, which is what we use too for uploading footage and whatnot. So each one of them has their own intricacies, but at the end of the day, they all do the same thing. It's just the level of sophistication.
Isn't one of the issues how we're going to initially get the question out, or have people see that we're asking whether they'd like to be connected or not? If we're counting on QR codes on signs in restaurants, I don't know where else it would be, but we don't have, we don't send bills out. What kind of,
right?
How often do we send out, like would we have a mailer going out from the district at any point in, I don't want to say this political environment, but at any point in all the stuff that we're involved in, where people how do I say this nicely? People, my husband's and my age, who don't walk around and use QR codes, they should have a way to do this that's easy or not on social media. I don't know what the demographics of the
district is.
the district, yeah, the
They look
district.
a whole lot like you and I do.
Okay, oops. Okay, well, that's why it's, we have to figure out where they're going to run into an opportunity to get in touch. I mean, if we mail out a piece, then we can put that. Would you like to hear from us about what's going on? You can opt in and then have some kind of a method there, in addition to whatever kind of QR code thing is going to be done. That's why I'm wondering about the that is opting in, and
it's a real chicken and egg
yeah,
thing, because we're trying to build the communication electronically so we don't have to do mailers, because
Right.
mailing is very expensive.
very expensive, absolutely.
And we do know that people tend to pitch newsletters and things like that unless they're truly interested. So if you can get to the truly interested,
Yeah.
and build your email list, then you're kind of meeting that need. We do have a button at the top of our homepage,
Mhm.
and we had been soliciting interest when the Measure J stuff first started. We had the listening sessions and so forth. So when there is something big and attention gathering, we have used those opportunities to develop the list, but it's usually, somebody sending a comment through comments@mpwmd.net, or somebody clicking on the button on the homepage, which is, we've said, I think it currently goes to a MailChimp managed email list. But you're absolutely right. How do you get them to opt in without a mailer is something we really need to think about.
Stephanie?
I'll real quick, and then I'll let Nick take over on that one. But one thing that just occurred to me is we could be, at least I think we can put this on our agenda and actually have a spot on the agenda that says, if you'd like to sign up for our email list, go to the website. The other thing is, every staff employee has, on their email list, it has their signature block and their name. And maybe that's a place we should put in a link that would go directly, so that anybody we're emailing would get that link as part of their email. And, I think we would have to hold hands on a lot of the staff people, because they wouldn't know how to change their signature block necessarily. But, if we made it a mandate, we could do that.
Yeah.
So
Good
that's
idea.
great, but I feel like for most of our comments, we're still just talking about staying within our little confines. I think what we're trying to do is to go outside of the people with whom we usually have communication and, widen the flock. Is that not what we're looking for by
Yeah, it is.
doing this? So I feel like we have to, just as we're trying to do that, we've got to think beyond, what we normally do. And when we talk about sending a mail or anything like that, we're still talking about the same old people. So what we've got to come up with is ways that we are able to reach beyond what we're talking about, which I think Nick is attempting to do here when we talk about, having QR codes and, in various different places. So, and I'm conscious as well, by the time I get my phone ready to take a picture of the QR code, it's off the television screen, right? And I have yet to succeed in doing that. But, I feel like there's, we've not come yet to the, the sweet spot of how we, whichever platform we use, whether it's MailChimp, MailChimp or eye contact or even constant contact, we're not talking about how we're going to expand it. And isn't that really the purpose of this discussion?
And we're
maybe-
talking about and it's really all of the district's customers,
Yeah,
right? So that's who we want.
and something tells me that we've attempted and probably have not succeeded in getting Cal-Am to give us that list.
So if I could just piggyback onto a couple things. First of all, Mary, you make some very, very good points, and Amy as well. Stephanie's spot on. The email signature is really smart. You read my mind. The other thing, so I look at this kind of as a multi-pronged approach. So every opportunity we have to touch someone, we should inform them that there's a way to stay connected to the organization. So that could be, as Athena and I were whispering over here, that could be in any print type of outreach that we're doing. There could be, not just a QR code, Mary, but actually the URL, or
Right. Yeah,
or call. Maybe we want to, old school. Hey, pick up the phone, reach out and touch someone, call our office, and we'll add you to our mailing list. The other thing we could do is we could add a button on Facebook, a custom button to sign in, to opt in for newsletters, because people use social media a lot. So that's one way. I think social media is kind of non-age discriminatory. I think it's, if anything, Facebook is in our favor, because Facebook skews a little bit older to a slightly older demographic. So I think that could be good. And then anything like the Summer Splash event. And by the way, the other thing we could do, folks, is on the website, if and when we do the website redesign, we could modify the form, the contact form, with a little checkbox that says, by checking this box, you are agreeing to be added to our mailing list, and we could put something cute, and we promise not to spam you all. We could make it kind of fun and non-threatening.
we're not boring.
Yeah, exactly. That friendly approach is a good way to go.
Yeah. We're not trying to sell you extended auto insurance.
Yeah. I got 2 of those today, Amy.
Got 3. They come constantly.
So do we need to make a firm decision today on what platform we're going to be using? Is
Yeah, I
that
have
what we're going to need to decide as we talk about how, once we make that decision, how we're going to do this?
Yeah, I don't think we need to make a decision on the type of platform. I just wanted to hear some of the discussion. It is important that if you're leaning towards an opt-in model, that we have to do our thinking that way. And it sounds like that's where the preference is. So, I find it interesting. This is Carmel Area Wastewater District, single page, folded over, direct mail. But the mailing label has my name on it, and I'm not a bill payer because my building is master metered. So, it is possible to just do a blanket mail drop for everybody within a certain zip code. So we can think that through again. I just know that when we brought the newsletter concept to the group, that it just seems so cost prohibitive to do a mailer. And again, doing a mailer to get people's attention to sign up for something electronically.
Yeah, it's got to be
Seems a little odd, but
within other content. Those are nice mailers.
Yes.
Cod mailers.
Yep.
So is that, Nick, is that kind of mailer as cost prohibitive as if we were doing a newsletter mailed?
It's gonna be hard for me to say. Mail is, with the way mail is going these days, it's the postage just went up again. So even when you have a bulk permit or a nonprofit permit, it's gone up. So the postage is the most expensive part of the mailing. So, and then if you're going to do a mailing, you'd almost invariably have to do a return envelope, a remit envelope that's postage paid. Otherwise, people won't, they won't put their own stamp on it. I mean, we could cost it out. I mean, we could cost it out any number of scenarios out. So we can get with Stephanie and you know, come up with a couple of different options. You know, usually a lot of organizations, I don't know if you guys are, if your bylaws required or if your operating agreements required, but usually public organizations have to put out a policy, privacy policy statement at least once a year. And I don't know if you guys have to do that or not. But I know I get them from, you know, I've gotten them from PG&E, I've gotten them from my doctor's office, you know, you get them from, you know, where I got my car loan, I get one of those every year to sign and stuff like that. That would be, if you did an annual mailing of some type, that could be included in there, but we can brainstorm that with Stephanie.
Yeah, I guess I had a different thought as far as the, you know, the doing something. Yes, if in fact we have to do that, that would be a perfect platform. Anything that we mail out should include, you know, the opt-in language that we choose. But if I were doing a postcard mailer, as we talked about, I would not have it be a return. I would have it be just focused on opting in. I would just have it be like the key things that we're working on right now. We're working on J, we're working on the dam, we're working on this, or we're working on that, whatever it may be. And then, you know, you want in, you know, here's the URL, you know, sign up, or here's the QR code, just you know, blah, blah. I wouldn't expect to go to the full expense of full-blown postage and an envelope and a return.
Okay, yeah, then I would do a postcard in that respect. I do one of those, they call them Sumo Postcards. That would have, you can put your issues on there, and you can give them every option. You give them a phone number, you can give them an email address to respond to, a QR code, you know, you can, however you're comfortable reaching out to us and want to be included in the information, boom, here it is.
Yeah. I think that's what I would choose. But then once again, to whom are we sending it? You know, is that when we could send it out to everyone in the 93940, 4055 5350
23, 24.
24? Yeah. I think that would probably be about the
But we did price out something not too long ago on the, I thought we did a postcard pricing too.
I think so.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for all the people that kind of get in touch with us, like the people that get rebates, the people that go in to get, you know, some kind of permit, or they're getting their irrigation line checked for whatever. We should take the opportunity every time we are in touch with them, people in touch with us.
Well, that's exactly where I was heading with the opt-out strategy. So we have an interaction on a rebate or water permit or an inquiry about a well. We automatically load their email address into our list and let them use the opt-out provision, because we know at least they've had interaction with the water district at that point. But I see your points. Multiple of you have said best management practice is opting in, or best practices. So I'm far more insidious when we look at this, which is if we've had any interaction with them, put them on our list, and they'll love to hear from us, or they won't.
We do that with chamber music, Monterey Bay, and if they don't, there's always if you don't want to hear these anymore, press here. And they don't have to look at something that's too small to read, or,
Right.
And it works. I have a number of places that I opt out repeatedly, and a month later, they're back.
Well, and that's the thing. So there's a guy named Eric Stolt who lives on the East Coast. They think I'm him, and they've sold that email address list multiple times for affinity style folks, and it's not my style of stuff. It's all political. It's all pretty hard right wing, and but some of them are just so aggressive that I just don't click on anything. I just delete.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Maybe we should rethink the whole opt-in, truthfully. I hear what you're saying about people who have come to us with, wanting information or whatever. It does make sense for them to automatically get put on the list.
yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I'm really rethinking my little snobbish approach to opting in, as opposed to just, you're going to get it whether you want it or not, and you can opt out. Yeah, I think I'm about to change my my opinion on that when I think of it from the discussion that we've had.
And as
It's
long
not-
as we let them know that we don't sell anything,
Yeah,
Right.
that's pretty important.
Yep. Well, I think this has been good discussion, which will give Stephanie and our consultants some direction, or at least pushing us closer in a direction. And
good.
I'll work with Stephanie on this conceptually.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the one other question, Nick, real quick, if we went with eye contact, is that something we just would roll the existing MailChimp information into?
Yeah, we would just download it from MailChimp and upload it to iContact.
Okay, all right, great, thanks.
Good. Well, thank you very much. It has been a really good discussion. Thank everyone for their input, particularly Nick. That was just great. And so now looking at the outreach postcard to hospitality. Can you give us a verbal update on that one, Stephanie?
A very fast verbal update. There are some concepts that we're working on. 2 different postcards going out, one to the restaurants, one to the hotel, motel, B&B type things. The restaurant one is focused on the, fill the glass only when asked kind of thing. Then the hotel, motel, bed and breakfast is a towel and linen reuse reminder. And so we will probably work on getting those out just before the end of this year, or right at the beginning of next year. And I think we'll also be looking at kind of coming up with some kind of a plan for a concept that if we had to go into if we have drought, ongoing drought, that we would have some kind of a concept to bring to you as far as going forward.
Great. And so would that postcard be an opportunity for us to have a, sign on kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Stephanie, do you have a draft of that, since the possibility of enforcing that cease and desist is happening at the end of the year, so that it's ready to issue should that happen, God forbid?
So the cease and desist, those 2 planned postcards are just to remind everybody that those are current requirements. And I think as we get into our next discussion, I believe it's our next discussion item, item number 6, we can talk a little bit about that. Safwat, I think it's a good idea. I have a concept for what I'd like to do for November, but I think when we get into December branding and that kind of thing, maybe we can have that discussion a little bit too.
Why don't we go ahead into that, Stephanie, and then we'll come back to the redistricting.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So what I'd like to do with the November ad is do a rebate program, something that promotes the rebate program. And generally that's been kind of before the holiday season. So you buy yourself a new washer or whatever. But the other thing is that now that we're talking about this, the potential for the CDO cutback, and then possible drought, and then actually I think Amy, you mentioned this, which was the you said, the key things we're working on. And so in between those 2 items, whether it's talking about the need to conserve more water because of regulatory restrictions and drought, or whether it's, hey, let's toot our horn a bit and say this is the end of the year, this is what we're doing, and for more information, sign up for our mailing list and whatnot.
Yeah, I'd kind of vote for that one, Stephanie, like a year-end wrap-up or something like that. Because I think we need to see what happens with rainfall in December, January, and even February before we figure out if we're doing drought outreach or drought reach or not. The CDO is going to happen irrespective of any actions we take. And, you know, we think we've identified the replacement water by running Pure Water Monterey a little harder. And then, of course, if it rains, we'll have a little more aquifer storage and recovery to rely on. So, but I do think that's a wait and see in either January or February.
I also know that, you know, when I talk to my very educated friends, they don't know what's going on with the district, and they don't read a paper, and you know, they think that because they don't know that nothing's going on. So I think an opportunity to even engage them with just the two things you just said, Dave, that's a positive, because they actually, oh, really? You know, then they get interested for however long.
And so we have no issue with mixing our message, right? We can talk about Measure J and you know, restoring the fish ladder at the same newsletter. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, though, Amy. That, you know, when people don't hear from us, they assume nothing's happening. They don't, and that's, you know, that's our bad, really.
Well,
You know.
I mean, we got articles in the papers all the time, but people don't take the papers.
Yeah, well, there's not really much in the newspaper, so many people don't get it.
Well, it's also really expensive. I mean, the Herald has lots of articles on local stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, it costs an arm and a leg.
It's more expensive than the New York Times.
Oh, it's terrible. But you don't want to lose your local paper.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I feel that way as well. So did we complete item number 6 then, talking about the branding ads?
Yeah, I think so. And
the
the
idea
idea
of content for
Yeah.
more like what we're up to.
Yep.
Good, good. Anything further on that one? Okay, then let's go back up to the redistricting committee outreach.
Okay, Sarah, I'm going to share my screen.
I'm good. Yeah, you don't need to. I found an agenda, so I'm good to go.
Okay.
Quick question. Did you want us to stay for the redistricting, or is that kind of a private conversation?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're going to need ad copy, and
Okay.
it'll be a real quick discussion.
Oh, no, I didn't want to breach any privacy things or anything like that.
Oh, no.
Okay, all right.
Wait, you getting bored already here?
Never.
Okay, so what you see here is back in June, this is what the county published in the Pine Cone and the Weekly, I don't know where else, looking for volunteers. And I think we will do something similar. I don't really like the image that they chose here. It's really a roadmap. It's not really a, you know, an effort in mapping, but the content is basically the same. So when our board approved running 2 weeks in a row, it'll be something like this. The other thing is, and this is very recent, when was this? This was mid-September. This is where that commission then decided to hold some workshops in each of the supervisory districts so that people could talk about communities of interest and, you know, what really matters to them. I'm not sure that we're going to use the same model here in our case, but it is something that we'll want to think about. But the goal is to first assemble our commission. I guess we'll probably end up talking about the need for additional outreach, like these kind of local meetings, and then decide at that time what kind of advertising we will do for that. We're also trying to come up with an in-house piece so that if somebody inquired, we can just email it to them with what it is we're looking for and so forth. But I just wanted to give you that heads up that these are the kinds of outreach efforts that we're going to need for the redistricting. We did not budget for it, so it'll be found money somewhere. You know, we'll end up probably at the mid-year budget, just defining some money for it. But, you know, the exercise is based on communities of interest, is, you know, a phrase that talks about similar demographics, similar eco or social, economic affinities and so forth. So, you know, we will have to do some outreach. But I think, as I said, we just need to get to our volunteers first, and then we'll figure out what additional outreach might be needed. So we'll be coming up with an ad separate from our monthly branding ads that does all this, you know, asking for volunteers. So that was just a heads up so you know about it.
Would you,
The League of Women Voters just had a very good session on redistricting. Just, it was quite interesting, and they had lots of, you know, just the key reasons why you do it and what matters when you make the decisions. And it was,
Yeah,
just,
and
was
we've
a
been
simple-
staying in touch with a Connie with a K, but I can't remember her last name.
Connie Murray.
Murray.
Yeah, Connie Murray. And so she's kind of their representative to us for this effort right now. So I've kind of, in my mind, kind of tabled her as maybe one of the two at-large appointees, because I think it's an opportunity, rather than figure out where she lives and have that director appoint her, to have the league's perspective and kind of an overall independent appointee is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would there be any benefit to show what some of the ideas are for the redistricting for the entire county? Or is this something that, because there's some overlap, but, you know, not 100%.
Yeah, are they there yet? Do they have their ideas and things?
I've seen an option.
Yeah.
And I don't recall that it was in closed session.
Yeah. So it might be useful. You know,
Yeah.
we've got about 6 weeks to try to get volunteers' names in, and then try to pick or appoint a commission in December,
Yeah.
and then start having meetings in January. But that's about all we have on our plate right now.
Mhm.
Lapcop and Goblet, our demographers, they're swamped right now. And what's funny too is our property tax consultant is swamped right now because those first bills just went out, right? And so it's hard getting any of our outside people's attention right now.
Okay.
But
When you think about it just in general, Dave, and you look at the current districts as they stand, do you see much, just from common knowledge, much growth or shifting or change within the various districts?
Yeah, 2 of the districts are still within size of each other that could just be left alone. But I think it's 1 and 3 are too disparate at this point.
And which 2 are they?
So 1 is Albans, so that's you know, 2/3 of Seaside,
Mm-hmm.
and then 3 is Cairns, which is Pacific Grove primarily. And so that's where the tough ones are, because the Pacific Grove line is actually that separates Amy's is like 2nd Avenue in Carmel. And so they've already picked up a little piece of Carmel, thrown it in with Pebble Beach, and then the rest goes with Pacific Grove. I'm not sure they really fit well together. You know, Pacific Grove probably fits better by picking up a little bit of Monterey.
Yeah, that would make sense to me too.
Yeah.
But then George has the dubious title of having 1/3 of Seaside, all of Delray Oaks, a piece of Monterey. So I don't know where this is going to shake out. You know, I think it's going to be easier to just look at neighborhoods and say, well, they're closer to being like each other than, you know, this should not be a gerrymandering exercise where we go, you know, run a piece all the way out to the Laurelis grade and say, well, we're going to stick this in with George and, you know, that kind of thing. So
yeah.
But
It's
anyway,
been
when we get the
interesting.
group together.
Good, that's good. And we're giving people an opportunity to sign up to be part of this.
Yes,
right? And we will obviously ask them to sign up for the newsletter as well,
exactly.
on anything that goes out from now on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been really interesting looking at it from the county's perspective, and very much what one would expect. You know, I knew that I'd probably need a little more land, and that Wendy probably lose a little, and, you know, this and that, because of the way just looking at the demographic, how things have shifted. You know, you can see that from where the growth has taken place in the county, but it's different within the water district. It's just different configurations. So
Yeah, yours are harder. Yours are definitely harder because, you have to represent the hippies of Big Sur as well as the major
the
hotel
Holdens of
businesses.
Pebble Beach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, not too bad so far. I don't know.
Great.
Okay, so actually those are the last things that we have on our agenda today, other than looking for items for a future agenda.
I have a question, just,
Yes.
has anybody heard how these requests for volunteers
Actually
wherever
work
are
out.
going?
Yeah, and it's going to be a combination. You're going to have to put out a request through your network to say, hey, we're going to be looking for folks. Sign on up, send it in. We're going to do a press release, and then we'll do these couple of ads that we have to come up with copy for. But
Okay.
it's
You
like
know,
when we go for new directors.
Yeah,
Word of mouth gets out there.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's legit, and I will find out if it is. We were quite successful and ended up with 3 excellent candidates that served on the rezoning, redistricting committee. 3 women of color, and they were terrific. And if it's allowed, I would be happy to share the list of people who responded to us. And if we
Yeah.
could get the same from Wendy, then you would have most of the district, quite truthfully.
That's right. That'd be great.
And yeah, that would really be very helpful,
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good idea.
All right. Well, it's time to
It's time to go. We've exhausted our discussion.
then recite our mantra for a half hour before the 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh
ambush.
my God.
Good
either
luck,
that
by the way.
or a shot of tequila, and I think I'm going with the shot of tequila. So we'll see.
Dave,
All right, all.
Dave,
Okay. Well,
Dave,
thank
Yeah, Mary.
Dave,
Thanks,
Dave,
everybody.
Dave,
Yeah,
And
what,
Dave,
thank you
Dave,
very much,
good
Safwat.
luck. We're keeping our fingers crossed that you
Yeah.
prevail.
I think we'll be
Not
disappointed.
optimistic. I know that we will. I feel absolutely confident. I've done so much outreach. I've talked to so many people. I've leveraged everything that I possibly can. And I feel like we've got 2 people who are just impossible.
Well, and I think we've got 4 no votes, which is just absurd that, that this one organization would act as a gatekeeper for a duly elected legislative body like the district. So,
Excuse me, have we adjourned the meeting?
yeah.
I'm adjourning the meeting as we speak so that we can stop
Thank you.
veering from our listed agenda.
Thank
Great.
you
All right.
all.
In fact, it'd be great if we could back it up a little bit.
No, that's fine.